All right, defining energy. This one's a fun one because energy is one of those terms that everybody knows what it means. You know energy when you see it, and then you try and define it, and you realize that it's actually very tough to define. But let's take a crack at it. Energy, we're going to say, is the ability to cause a change in motion. That is, something that has energy can change the motion of something else. And we're going to look at two specific ways we can do this. So if we have energy, it can change motion by changing the speed of an object, or it can change motion by changing the location of an object. And those two have specific names. Changes in or energy that's used to change speed, or energy that involves speed, is called kinetic energy. And energy that involves location is called potential energy. And let's take a look first at kinetic energy. So kinetic energy deals with how fast something is moving. The faster something's moving, the more kinetic energy it has. So if you take something, let's say a car, a parked car, if it's not moving at all, will have zero kinetic energy. And then as it gets moving, the faster it's moving, the more kinetic energy it has. Now kinetic energy also deals with mass. So mass is involved in this, and the way you can think of this is that the more mass something has, the more kinetic energy is required to change its speed. Think it's just the same idea as inertia. If you have something that's really, really massive, it takes a lot of force to push it and to change its motion. Something that's really, really massive, if you're going to add energy to change its speed, you need quite a bit of energy. So remember, kinetic energy deals with speed, and the faster something's moving, the more kinetic energy it has. Potential energy actually comes in two types: gravitational potential energy and elastic potential energy. Now we're going to focus primarily on gravitational potential energy, but I will introduce elastic potential energy mostly just so you know what it is. Alright, gravitational potential energy. This is the big one. Gravitational potential energy depends on how high you are above the ground. The idea here is that at the surface of the Earth, gravity pulls everything towards the surface of the Earth. And in order to move something to a higher position, you have to do work against gravity. That is, I have to overcome gravity to pick something up. That overcoming gravity means adding energy to the object. And so gravitational potential energy, or GPE, depends on the height above the ground. The higher you lift something, the more GPE you've given it. So if I take, say I've got a calculator here, and I lift it this high, that takes a certain amount of gravitational potential energy that I have to add to the object. If I lift it even higher, I have to add more gravitational potential energy to it. And of course, as something falls, that means it's getting less and less gravitational potential energy. And just like with kinetic energy, this depends on mass as well. So the more mass something has, the more energy you have to add to it to lift it up off the ground. This makes sense. Lifting this calculator is not so much an issue. Like, I can easily add enough energy to pick that up. However, if I wanted to lift a house this high, that'd be a whole other story. I need more energy to do that. Alright, and the last thing on this, elastic potential energy is the energy that is due to stretching or compressing. Basically, when you take something and you change its shape, so we change the location of the outsides of it, the more stretched the object is, the more elastic potential energy. So you can imagine drawing back the string on a bow, like as in a bow and arrow. As you pull that back, you're changing the location of the string as you pull it back. And as you're changing the location, you're adding energy, because the more stretched that string becomes, the more elastic potential energy it has. So you're having to add energy to stretch out that bow. Alright, remember, the two main types that we're going to be concerned with are kinetic energy and gravitational potential energy. Make sure you understand those and their relationship to height and speed.